All right, now we got that recruiting stuff out of the way, and we can just talk ball with Tim Duffie. Hey, Coach, how are you?
What's going on, Robert? Glad to speak with you this morning.
Well, it's always good to talk to you, and again, I think a lot of people are excited. I don't know. What am I? Who am I kidding myself? Everybody gets excited about football season coming up, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to it. And that's one of the reasons Coach Gundy's really nice to let us hook up with some of the coaches during their office time, and I know you and your family. By the way, how's summer baseball? That's a big part of the Duffy family. How's the summer baseball going?
It's going fast and furious, man. We're wide open all over the map here. I'm looking for a little place to catch my breath a little bit. These guys have us traveling pretty good.
Yeah, well, and I remember those days. You know, I heard a interview this morning nationally,
Hmm.
and you probably can, talk about this a little bit with kids that you evaluate and eventually recruit. And this writer had written a story for Monday Morning Quarterback, which is one of those major sports websites. It's kind of like a sports newspaper on the web. She had talked to a lot of basketball, baseball, and football people, and she found out that the top athletes in this, in the last 3 or 4 years, and what looked like the top athletes in the upcoming 3 or 4 years, all have at least one parent that would be considered a highly active sports parent. In other words, it's not one of those households where both parents say, if you want to play, go ahead. That's fine. We'll come watch. It's one of the parents is either a former athlete, a coach, coaches the kids in sports, but that there is some intensity off at least one side of the parent process that helps push athletes to be near the top. I thought that was interesting.
I believe it is too. I guess that probably would be my wife in this family. Obviously, I do it for a profession, but her family is also really big into sports and education. Kind of grew up that way, with her dad being a coach, a teacher, and her mom being a school counselor, and my wife was an athlete herself. So the boys kind of get a double dip of that. So I don't think they have a choice. We kind of just want them to be active and push them out in different environments to get around different people and see different lights of life. It kind of force them to interact with people from all backgrounds, from different locations and different upbringings, which I think is good for us all.
And one thing I will say, because I'm around the program and around the coaches and the families so much, and we had Coach McAdoo on the other day. Of course, I'm very familiar with Luke and even his daughters, who are very involved in the community. But I will say this about the Duffy boys: when you run into them, they walk right up to you, stick their hand out, and say, hello, Mr. Allen, and they're so I like that, and I think that's going to serve them well their entire life if they are proactive like that, and I that's a good thing.
Well, thanks, Rod. I tell you what, those guys are definitely have some personalities to them. I think every parent try to push their kids to be polite and respectful. I think that's what stands out about Coach Gundy's program and the culture he's created here of a classy cowboy, of yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, please, and may I help you, is big in our program. And it don't only it's not only entrenched in the program, but we try to live it as men and husband in the family and lead our family in that way also. I think it's great.
Well, let's get into some football. And one of the things I was going to transition, I think one of the things Cowboy fans are excited about is in this league, which is so tough. I mean, it's tough to play defense in this league. The offenses are so explosive. Um, and that puts especially the guys that play for you at your position, the corners, a lot of pressure. But you've got two guys that I think the best way to put it, baptized by fire. They've been playing a long time. I think they're kind of uh, not only strengthened as athletes, but I think they're strengthened mentally to what they have to face. And I'm talking about AJ and Rodarius come back.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think those guys are having a really good summer. I think you're right. The experience they have in the conference, and just going against our guys offensively for the number of years that they have, it helps. They know what to expect when we're up. They know they expect when we're down, and they know when it's real close. So they're a little unfazed about the situation of the game, and we are excited about them having them back. They bring a lot to not only my group but to the entire team. I'm excited to coach them. I'm also excited to coach the rest of the guys at the position. I think this is as deep as we've been for a long time. Not that long, because we've been pretty good over the time here, going back to when Gilbert was playing corner, and Kevin Peterson and Patman. Those guys are really good players, and a number of them are still playing in the NFL at this time. So
Well,
I'm excited
even
about
Ramon
Rodarius.
Richards.
Yes, when Ramon first showed up, he was a quarterback, and we were trying to convert him, but he always had the confidence. He was unfazed. He would walk in the room and light up the room, not afraid of failure, and always really had the work ethic and the energy to compete every day. And what do you know? He plays in the Super Bowl this year. It's crazy how time flies, and what those kids have done after playing here at Oklahoma State.
Well, and you mentioned Kevin Peterson is still in the league. Justin Gilbert was a high draft pick. You just mentioned Ramon. I know Trey didn't play corner here; he was a safety. But I congratulate the Seahawks for, Pete Carroll for saying, you know what, this guy's athletic enough. Maybe we can make him into a big corner, which you really have to have that extra size in the NFL. And I watched Trey a lot last season. Was so proud of him. And then some of the guys like you mentioned that Patman, the guys that came in as graduate transfers that have gone on and played in the NFL. The kid that came in from Louisiana. I mean, it's been pretty impressive how many defensive backs, and I don't think people bring this up with Oklahoma State enough, have gone from OSU to the league. It's almost like we always talk about wide receiver Oklahoma State has got a lot of defensive backs, corners, some safeties playing in the league.
No doubt. I mean, the list goes on. Lindsey, Mike Hunter, Lampkin is playing. Jordan played a little bit and still trying to fight his way in the league, and probably going to get on the XFL roster once that league begins. And then obviously Trey had a phenomenal year last year as a rookie. I was so excited for Trey because obviously when I first came in, he was a safety. And then, Van left, and I moved over to the corners. And I tried like heck to get Trey to come over to corner. I told him the entire time he was here at Oklahoma State, I mean, you're a corner. You can play corner. And he just would not. He was comfortable, and as soon as they pay him a lot of money, he goes and plays it. I didn't think he told Pete Carroll, I'm not going to play corner. They drafted him, and he played as a rookie, started every game. But it says a lot about the kid and, Coach Glass, what he does with him in the weight room and with speed work and mental toughness and development off the field as players here, also with Joel Tubman. And academically with Maryland and her staff. Obviously, Coach Gundy has hired the right people in the proper positions to develop these kids on and off the field.
Tim Duffie, Cowboys corners coach with us, and he's been on this staff for quite a bit of time. And Tim has become a real in this Oklahoma State coaching staff and this Cowboy football program. And and his guys have done a good job. A couple of questions. One, I think people sometimes don't realize Rodarius's brother is Greedy Williams, who got drafted with the Cleveland Browns. And I know talking to him last year, he talked about how he and Greedy talk quite a bit. How much of a positive is that now, maybe coming into this season, especially that Rodarius has got the added confidence that his brother's in the league?
I think it's a lot. I mean, with Rodarius, I give Rodarius a hard time saying that Greedy is his brother, and he always say, "No, I'm Greedy's brother." He let it be known that he thinks he loves his brother. Don't get me wrong, but he competes against him. He thinks he's better than Greedy, and it's only one way to prove that. Is throughout your play. I think Greedy did a great job of making plays at the position for LSU. And I told Rodarius was in earlier this morning in the office, and I asked him, how's it going? Because obviously we can't spend a lot of time with them with drills on the field, so everything is really verbally, just checking in and keeping in touch with them. But he's saying to me, and I'm not getting any bad reports on him as far as health and consistency of intensity in workouts. I think he's having a phenomenal summer. He's out to prove he can play consistent throughout the season and let the chips fall where they fall. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. I think he really got comfortable this spring in the system. And in his play, he kind of knows what to expect. But at the same time, you and I both know in this league, it's a challenge week in and week out to play at a high level, at the highest level. You can playing some man-to-man in this league with the tempo. But these guys want to do it, which is always good. And I think when you believe in yourself and feel like you're not afraid to fail, you can play corner, and both of those guys do that, along with some guys behind them.
I was going to save this question more late toward the end, but last week I love it when listeners call up and try and challenge, your football knowledge, and I keep it layman's terms. I mean, I can't talk like a coach, but I probably can talk, more than most laymen, and listeners will love to challenge me. And somebody wrote in, you know, with Coach Knowles, is he going to change his stripes this year after what happened last year because he runs so much cover four? And I corrected the guy. I said, well, now, hang on now. I don't think you're seeing as much cover four. You got a lot of man, man one, even man two, some three mixed in. But, you know, Tim, wouldn't you, without giving away trade secrets, this is a very multiple coverage defense, isn't it?
I think it's very multiple. I think the best thing about what Coach Knowles does is a lot of times it looks like something that it's not, which is good. It's kind of appeasing to us as a coaching staff as people think it's this or that, but it's really, we know what it is, and most people can't figure it out what it is. But I tell you what, the corners know they're going to be in situations that they have to win, which in the league today, you have to want to challenge some guys. You want to have to. You have to play close to them. You don't want guys like Tylan Wallace in space with the ball. You want them to be touched, for lack of better terms. But I like what we do. I think our players have way more confidence and understanding of the system. And I think it's always good for the coordinator, Coach Knowles, to have a little familiarity about the other teams in the league. Because we can tell them it's no different from our parents telling us when we were growing up how life is going to be until you experience it. You really don't know. But as soon as you experience it, it always rings in the back of your head, oh, that's what my dad was referring to, or that's what Mom meant by this. And you have a better understanding of how to handle things when you encounter them the second time.
Right. And I want to get back, I kind of went out of order with the scheme question. I want to get back to the personnel because you wanted to talk about the other guys in your room, besides AJ and Rodarius or veterans. But I'll be honest, I'll sneak out there once or twice a summer because I'm not a coach and the NCAA doesn't have a rule. I guess Gavin Lang could see me and say, no media out here watching this. But I sneak over there and I spend a lot of time watching the secondary doing their drills.
Mhm.
And they're out there. You get to see their physical development because they're out there in tights, and a lot of times they peel the shirts off. Um, Obviously, Kima's a backup and a veteran. I know he'll miss the first half at Oregon State, but he'll be out there. But then there's some new guys too that impress me. Obviously, Thomas Harper in the spring came in as a young pup, really impressed everybody. I mean, even the defensive coordinator, Coach Knowles, is talking about him. And then a guy I noticed the other day, and I've always been high on him. I loved him coming out of high school, a kid you recruited, and I think you have a good relationship with his dad's a former player. But I really like what Gabe Lemons looks like now. So, like you mentioned, the position's deeper. You got a lot of guys that maybe people haven't seen on the field or heard of yet that I think are going to be a lot of fun.
I do too. That's what I really like about the position. First of all of them are really good guys. Starting with AJ and Rodarius, and then Bryce Bayless, who I'm really, really pleased with, who had a tremendous spring. He battled a wrist injury this time last year that kind of hampered him through most of the season last year, and then he really came on at the end and helped us win the bowl game, and it really gave him some confidence. And obviously the play that Kima got ejected on, I think, even though we lost him and it really taught our position a lot, and we really focused on where we can tackle this summer, this spring, and in the fall will be big for us because we can't afford for that to happen again with him and Rodarius. He's really coming on. It's crazy for a fifth year to have a second year, but it's really benefited Kima. And LaMarcus Martin is growing up and maturing, which we're excited to see that occur. You mentioned Gabe. Gabe is just going to get better and better as he matures. He's still young, but he trains like no other, and he has some length and speed and mental toughness to him. And Thomas Harper, we're amazed of how he's adapted, coming in as a high school kid mid-year, and he never really flinched. But we still haven't seen him play in a live tempo situation where we can't really control the situation. So that'll be a process, but we are excited about Thomas. And then we got Player and DeMarco Jones, another in-state kid out of Booker T. Obviously,
Freshman,
Player from Steele, who we had a lot of success out of San Antonio with that high school. We're excited about those guys. They're training well here and been here since June. So we feel like we've recruited well. We just got to go out and produce and play and get some confidence and win some games like everyone expects.
Tim Duffie, and last question. I'm going to get out of the cornerback role. I know everybody on the coaching staff helps out, MK and the special teams guys. Your guys especially have a chance to help out in that area, whether it's on a cover unit or occasionally you run across those corners that we know Justin Gilbert and what he did as a return guy. So sometimes they branch off into kickoff or punt returns. But when you look at that, and that's an area I know Coach Gundy, everybody on the staff wants to get that return game going again. One guy I look at, because I saw him do some of it at Carnes in high school, is Harper. But when you look at the special teams contributions from the guys in your room, what do you see?
I think the majority of them will play special teams. A lot of them will play a lot of snaps in that situation because all those guys can run and are tough and intelligent kids. Thomas did obviously play some offense in high school and return kicks, so he has some experience, and I think MK them like him back there. Also, Kima caught some kicks, and I know he want to return kicks, but those guys got to gain the confidence of the head coach anytime they're handling the ball. But I know Mike has really he's really trying to bring them along because he like what they bring, and we honestly that's one of the prereqs we try to look for in defensive backs is return skills, because we're always trying to find ways to ignite and a dynamic guy back there touching the ball, and all these guys want to score, which that's what we plan to do. Even as a defensive back, we don't want to take guys that can't catch. I know a lot of people say, well, we'll recruit receivers, and if they can't catch, just move them to defensive back. But we want the ball too. We want to score. So these guys have to have some ball skills. We try to develop ball skills so they can really have a chance to play at the next level in those situations, because they look at that. They really look at ball skills. If you can't find the ball or panic when the ball's in the air, you're probably not going to be a very good defensive back. That's one of the big prereqs we look at, natural instincts around the ball. And I think that goes back to what we started the conversation with in youth sports and high school sports, guys playing multiple sports, which sometimes can be catch-22 because we start talking about overuse and playing too much and all that. But I really think developmental for kids out in the community, the more sports you can play is the best, with a happy medium of kids being kids and not specializing too early in their life.
Well, again, Coach, I appreciate it, and I can tell you as far as the ball skills go, because a lot of the drills I was watching the other day involved ball skills. Yeah, you guys are pretty good at catching the ball. That's I noticed there weren't balls hitting the ground, and the people throwing it weren't necessarily the most skilled throwers. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, they're a little limited in the fall when we're not around with balls to get some guys that throw it around. So if they can catch those balls that they're getting this summer, they probably can catch a good one from Texas or the guys down south.
There you go. Hey, Coach, enjoy the summer. I know you've got office. I think today's your second office duty day, and you'll hit the vacation and spending time with the family. Enjoy that, and we'll look forward to all coming back together at the end of the month.
Thanks, Robert. Always a pleasure.
Hey, I appreciate it. Coach Tim Duffie, the cornerbacks coach